Another edition of XCW Freetime Interview. I am your host, Fletch, and I'm sitting alongside a man who somehow has dodged this show for the last 10, 15 years. We're talking about Frantic. Jessie Justice is joining us on the show today. How'd you get away from not doing this show this long? I don't understand. How does this happen?
I have no idea, to be honest.
All right, so obviously, all the questions here completely out of character. We're just kind of shooting the shit. We're going to get your personal views and your personal opinions out there for the XCW Galaxy to view here. So, this should be a really good show. You've had quite a few years here in XCW, so I'm really interested to hear your points of views and your opinions on a lot of these things. So, first off, who is your favorite XCW Superstar to watch?
Probably when I first started.
At any point in time.
Well, during the beginning of my career, it probably would have been you. And towards the later years, it's probably Brogan O'Shea.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as active anymore, but I would say, especially around the time that you were coming in, I was pretty hot and pretty in the middle of all the storylines and stuff. So totally get it. But on the flip side of that, you've had the opportunity to work with myself and Brogan O'Shea and pretty much anyone that's ever been on the XCW roster and then some. So who is your favorite XCW Superstar to work with?
Probably Hazard. He was probably the lead up to our death match was very fun matches for me.
Yeah, I know you guys got to do a lot of really cool skits. You got to do like the foot race, and you guys did like a basketball competition, and you had the infamous drug selling promo. What can you tell us about that time? You know, getting put in all these weird skits. And you guys even had one where you sat at my kitchen table and like he played mind games back with you and stuff.
Yeah, that was supposed to be like a 3-4 minute promo, and it turned out to be almost
like 10,
12 minutes. And it was just me and him feeding off each other. That's why he was very good to work with on camera and in the ring.
Now, you've been a part of a lot of shows here in XCW over the years, countless Summer Manias and Halloween Harvest and Halloween Havoc and Extreme Kings and stuff like that. Is there any show that stands out in your mind specifically that you just feel like was the best show in XCW's history?
There's been a lot of shows, but I believe probably this year or last year for me, probably was one of my favorite shows, probably Summer Mania-ish, around there. I can't recall the name of the show.
Do you remember who you were against? Maybe I could help out.
It was I can't think of the match. It was with Deacon Storm. It was
The Summer Mania from this past year, Summer Mania 16?
the Boiler Room Brawl.
Okay, so you're that's Halloween Havoc in 2020. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed that match so much that 1 year later to the day at Halloween Harvest, I would have DJ and Deacon Storm have another match in the Boiler Room. Yeah, definitely. And of course, we can't be remiss without mentioning your match with Hayden Vex this year at Halloween Harvest, and that's been a popular answer as of late, Halloween Harvest, because the show was just phenomenal from top to bottom. How did you get your start in XCW?
Brandon Hobbs. He took me to a show that wasn't XCW, but it piqued my interest, and he brought me around Corey Lee, you, and we decided to talk, and we did a couple of training things, and that's what...
Was that at Greg's house when you started training?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I thought so.
It wasn't really training, it was more like camera work, and...
Yeah.
But it piqued my interest, and then I got with you, and we actually started doing training, and when I was training, I liked doing it.
Yeah, so you didn't officially start until we were at Mildred Street, though, right? So it would have been, the year after. So, obviously, you just recently won the XCW Championship. Last year, you were inducted into the XCW Hall of Fame. Multiple-time tag champion, international champion. But in your opinion, what is the biggest moment in your XCW career?
Other than winning the world title this year, probably I didn't win the New Age, but I lost it to Roddy in the death match.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in 2 death matches myself, and people who are not in the match and don't understand, like, they've never experienced a match like that, don't really understand the feelings and stuff like that of what it takes, your mentality to get into a match like that. It's not easy.
Oh no, it's what I usually do. It's you have that fear to the point where the bell rings, then
it goes away.
Then you just do the work.
Yeah, I don't think people understand the magnitude of what that match does to you mentally and physically. Like, there's been some death matches that weren't even that extreme, not even too bad, but it does. It takes a toll on you in a completely different way, unless you're put into that situation that you would never feel. Going back to a question that we had just a little bit ago about, the best show in your opinion for XCW. Do you remember a show that was just the absolute worst? You just couldn't wait for it to be over.
I don't remember the show, but I remember it was me, Awesome Chaos, and Genocide. The match was so bad, we actually, at the end of it, took a breather and we reshot it because the match was just...
I want to say it was a Cold Day in Hell, possibly, and I think it was you, Genocide, Matt, and Austin in a 4-way ladder match. I think it was for the international title. And the match, just for whatever reason, just completely fell off, and we ultimately, as a group, decided the match wasn't what anybody wanted it to be, and we decided to reshoot it.
But when we did reshoot it, the match was 100 times better.
Oh, yeah, and I think that was the one that made the final cut on the edit, so thank God for that. So... we talked about your biggest moment in XCW, winning the XCW championships and having the death match with Hazard at Summer Mania. But what do you think was the biggest turning point in your career where you felt like you were no longer a mid-card guy, you were no longer at the bottom of the barrel, you had finally made it, and you made a huge turning point where this was you in XCW 100%, like, you were here to stay?
Probably ending of the feud with Deacon Storm.
Really? That late?
Yeah.
It took you that long to really feel like you had a turning point in XCW?
Because this was usually just fun, hanging out, doing what I needed to do, but I actually put work in, bettered myself, and tried much harder in the ring than I have the entire time I've probably been here.
Now, I think I know the answer to this question, but obviously for the viewership here at the XCW Galaxy, what was the worst injury that you sustained in your XCW career?
It was probably the slight tear in my meniscus in my knee.
That would have been in 2015 when you were feuding Brandon Hobbs. You were actually going to face Brandon Hobbs at SummerMania 11 that year, and you went out injured before we even got to SummerMania that year. Yeah, I remember that. We ended up, we kind of went back and forth between like you and Billy and Supernova and Brandon Hobbs, and it ended up Brandon Hobbs, Stevie Goebel, and Billy Supernova. And you had to sit out. You didn't even return to XCW until 2017. On the flip side of that, I mean, you've also seen, you've seen other people get injured during your time here in XCW. What's the worst injury you think you've ever witnessed since you've been here?
It wasn't per se a long-term injury, but it was Brady Branson's, where he almost tore half of his ear off.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised that there wasn't scarring and stuff more than there is. I don't even think he's got a scar or anything. Yeah, he did the dive into the corner and hit the chair, and it about took his damn ear off.
He's lucky he didn't take it off.
I'm surprised. I mean, it was pretty gnarly. Now I know that you've had some times in XCW where we've talked about in the past off camera where you just. Things didn't happen. You were actually lined up for a championship win at one point in your career, and some things in your personal life happened, and that didn't become a reality. And you've missed some seasons for injuries and stuff. But was there ever a time that you just wanted to quit XCW entirely and just never come back?
About probably 2 months after my injury, because I felt like if I continued, my knee would have gotten way worse, but I think I just got into my head.
Now, one thing that I think everybody has always, when you talk about Jessie Justice, you talk about your character, the character you portray on TV. And I think a lot of people discredit Jessie because of your character. I don't think that they understand, like, you're, of course, way easier to talk to, way more easygoing, a lot more intelligent than what you portray in your character. And I don't think a lot of people, I think people see you as just frantic Jessie Justice. And in a way, in my opinion, that's too bad. I think me and you really got to know each other in like 04, or it would have been like 14, 15, that was when I first moved into my own apartment and you really started coming around a little more and stuff. I think that was when me and you really got acquainted and got the opportunity to really hang out more. But in terms of that, gimmicks, what, in your opinion, has been the worst gimmick you've seen come through XCW over the years?
Probably Max Destruction.
Okay, I can see that.
The gimmick per se wasn't horrible, it's just he couldn't play the gimmick. He wasn't the big brute like he needed to be.
Yeah, he needed to be more like vicious. Like he needed to have more of a mean streak. And honestly, he just kind of he was almost too nice in a way. And like he really didn't grasp what we were looking for. We were looking for the big mean giant. We didn't get that. On the flip side of that, who do you think's had the best gimmick come through XCW in your time?
Probably Brady Branson, with how...
That's the second answer I've gotten on this show, yeah.
either him or Brogan O'Shea because they're easy to turn the crowd to their way.
Yeah, and I feel like not until maybe last year that Brady Branson finally came into his own with the character. Like, I feel like a lot of the things that I had him do, he didn't understand or wasn't with 100% until this last year. It's to the point now where Brady almost lives his gimmick. Like, if we got to eat at Denny's, he's ordering an All-American Slam and stuff, you know, or the All-American Burger or something. Like, it's almost like a lifestyle for him now.
Yeah, he's totally 180 from when he was tag teaming with Evan when I feuded him to after he feuded with Brogan.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like he's finally comfortable in his skin, and he's finally found a way to use this character to his advantage, use this character to fit him personally. So, do you have anything that you do pre-match ritual or anything that you do specifically to prepare for a match? Anything that really just gets you psyched and ready to go out there and do the things that we do to our bodies?
I do a little bit of stretching, and this was after I grew my hair out, but normally I'd wet my hair down and just sit there and prep myself. Now,
throughout the years, you've wrestled many guys who just absolutely get off on chops. And you came from an era of the Brandon Hobbs of the world where he loved throwing chops. In your career, what is the worst chop that you've received?
a lot of people don't chop me because I am asthmatic and they're always nervous to do it. But the worst chop I'd probably receive, probably from Genocide.
That's a pretty common answer. Yeah, he's one of those guys that I was referring to on getting off on chops. Now, you're currently working with Kurt Acid, you know, and you guys just have good chemistry in the ring. You guys find a way to create magic. Not everybody can create that magic. Myself and DJ are opposite sides of the spectrum in the ring. Even you and I have, you know, it can be awkward in the ring. I think we've gotten better recently. I think we had a match with me, you, and Brogan O'Shea in 2021 that was so much better than our early feud in 2012. Oh, yeah. But one thing that you have to accommodate when you wrestle different people within XCW is learning their finish. In your opinion, who has the best finish in XCW?
My favorite finish probably...
It's okay if you say the Baldo Bomb.
Not really Baldo Bomb, the FML.
Okay.
Because you can lead into it to about anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much any scenario, Corey Lee can pretty much hit the FML from anywhere. Now, I know when you first came into XCW, you didn't watch a lot of wrestling. You were kind of dismissed from wrestling a little bit, but you'd watched wrestling throughout the years. Was there anybody that you watched on TV that really influenced you to want to participate in this?
When I watched wrestling, it was the Attitude Era, and I really enjoyed Austin and D-Generation X, but I really like X-Pac. I don't know why.
Really?
But yeah, he was my favorite when I was younger.
He actually just got cleared to return to the ring this week.
Oh, he did?
So it makes me wonder, with the Royal Rumble coming up in a few weeks, maybe X-Pac will be back around. I think that's the first time I've ever gotten that answer, though. And like, really, I've heard things about, like, you know, they put a lot of the younger guys, like a lot of the talent that they were trying out and stuff, they used to put them with X-Pac. And if they couldn't hang with X-Pac, he would say yay or nay. And, like, he was kind of the he was kind of the yes or no guy on if you were going to make it as a wrestler. So that's a pretty good answer. Now, you've been through a lot of these, and you have an upcoming Ultimate Submission match at Cold Day in Hell with Genocide, or Kurt Acid, I should say. Is there a specific match concept that you enjoy more than others?
I like extreme,
just like a regular no DQ, or
no DQ. If you get the right person to work with, you can make weapon shots look 100 times worse than they are. And if you can trust that person, you have no issues. You don't have to worry about getting hurt, unless it's the freak accidents out there.
Right.
But hardcore usually, or I did actually like the grotto match that we introduced this year.
Yeah, you got the opportunity this year, the unique opportunity of not only competing in the first ever grotto match, which is going to be more of a character-specific match to you, but you also got to introduce the entire world, not just XCW, but the entire world to a brand new concept that's never been done anywhere else in the Winds of Chains. With you being the first person and the only person to this point other than Hayden Vex that's been a part of that Winds of Chains, what are your ultimate thoughts of that match overall at this point?
I actually do like it because it's a different version of a hardcore match. It's not per se like your death matches or your TLCs. It just brings a whole different dimension of ways you can.
And I feel like, to yours and Hayden's credit, I feel like that would be a very difficult match to work in. It's a completely different style. I mean, it's something that no one else has ever done, and to not be able to use the ropes and do stuff like that, you guys killed it. It's just mind blowing that you guys were able to come up with such good spots and be able to pull that match off when it's not an easy match to compete in.
Even when we did have the bottom rope breaking, which wasn't planned, we still were able to use it to make the match more in depth.
Yeah. And kudos to you guys, because even when Brady and I the week before was putting the chains around the ring just to, kind of measure them out, make sure that the chains will fit on the ring properly and all that stuff. We're like, God, this is going to be a hell of a match to try to pull off. And you guys did it with no problem. And then with that, you became the XCW champion. So with that being said, you're the XCW champion now, but where do you see Jessie Justice being in XCW 6 months from now?
Hopefully still the champion.
That would be the goal, right?
But I have no problem working with new people, veterans, or people that just need a bump in the... I enjoy just wrestling. I don't have to have my name in the lights, or I just want to do what I do, make a good match, and bring my opponents up with me.
Now, you've been here for quite a few years, as we've talked about throughout the show, and you've seen a lot of guys come and go in the XCW. The Carnages and Crisis and Vapors and Austin Chaoses and Octacannons. I mean, you've seen them all come and go. Even Kalen was in and out of XCW throughout the years and stuff. But who, in your opinion, was the fastest rising star in XCW's history?
It'll probably be Hayden Vex with Brogan O'Shea close up behind him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the early years. You're talking about Chris Jones was champion within his first year. Corey Lee was a pretty fast star. I mean, he was cruiserweight champion, and within less than a year, he was the international champion and literally at the top of the card. And I mean, you're talking about Chris Jones and Corey Lee. And now when you're talking about guys like Brogan O'Shea and Brady Branson and Hayden Vex, they're the next crop of those Corey Lees and Chris Joneses of the world. So I absolutely agree.
Austin Chaos actually went up fast too.
Yeah, he did.
He was actually, when I started, he started with me. We started training together.
Now, one thing that I feel like we pride ourselves here on in XCW is coming up with with unique characters and stories that are specific to us that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. And that's why I take pride in names like Brogan O'Shea and Hayden Vex and Jason Arcane. And I really just go out there to try to come up with a name that's going to fit the character and, you know, really get that point across. In your opinion, who do you think's had the best gimmick name in XCW's history?
I probably would have to say I like Void. Void was a good. It took a minute to get to that name to make it work, but Void or probably Awesome Chaos.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you put the moniker the Canadian Force on him, I really think that he skyrocketed because he had something to kind of go off of too. So, yeah, I mean, I think one of my favorites, obviously, Jason Arcane, Cynical. I'm a sucker for like one word names too, like Carnage, Corruption, Crisis. Like I always loved names like that too. Now, I know that you probably haven't followed every single person that's part of our Hall of Fame, and you're being a recent inductee as well. But is there anyone that you think should be in the XCW Hall of Fame that's not, maybe even of the current crop of guys?
Either Brogan O'Shea or Brady Branson. Those two have pushed to the tops of the rankings around XCW, and they're good. They're good guys. They're off camera, around the ring, and they put a lot of work in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even as of right now, like they're the ones that are helping the next crop of guys training and doing all that stuff. So like. You know, when I need ideas for stories and stuff, like I feel like Brogan O'Shea and Brady Branson are two of my go-to guys in XCW, and they do a lot to help make the wheels roll of the company. Now, throughout the years, you've come out to many different theme songs, but all of them were associated very closely to your character. But is there a specific song that you've used over the years that really got you pumped up, that really got you into the character the most?
There's actually two of them.
Okay.
There is, I ended up using it in the ward with Void.
Okay.
Voices.
Yep. By,
Crown of the Empire.
Yep.
And White Rabbit by Egypt Central.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you even used that song for a while and then eventually came back to that song. Here's an interesting question. I think it's more interesting asking you this question than it would be most people within our roster. Because you have the ability, especially with your character, to play either one perfectly. What do you prefer, babyface or heel?
Probably heel.
Any certain reason?
Playing the crazy person, you could be the baby face, the funny, but I like the heel, which is the crazy serial killer. You don't know what they're going to do next.
Right. Now, James Cerebral was famous for always talking about the eye that never blinked, and he's talking specifically about this right here in front of us, the camera. The eye that never blinks. Were you ever camera shy?
Oh, I am till this day.
Making you nervous right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not me. I love the camera. Hello. No. But, yeah, I mean, and I think that, I mean, there's a lot of guys that we've trained over the years, and we started incorporating it more in our training these days. But, like, there was times where we trained guys, and they would do excellent, you know, with promo work or wrestling in the ring and stuff, and then we threw the camera in front of them on the actual show, and it was like having a completely different person. We're like, what is the issue? And then we figured it out. It's the camera. The camera's the issue. It's like, so now we start incorporating using the camera as part of our training to get everybody's jitters out from, being able to perform in front of the camera. It's crazy that you're, to this day, still don't like the camera.
For me, it was, I could wrestle and do my promos with the camera looking at me. It's just the point of rewatching. Just, I didn't.
Yeah, I get it. So you debuted in XCW around 2011, 2012. Quickly made a name for yourself, and have climbed up the ranks throughout the years. But did you have any kind of wrestling experience prior to XCW?
Not wrestling per se. When I was younger, I took mixed martial arts, or not mixed martial arts, but Taekwondo, and
I never knew that.
Actually went and competed in medieval fighting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So like sword.
Was it like the role playing type, or was it like actual like jousting, like
full plate, bamboo wooden swords, full contact?
Nice.
Like,
I didn't even know that there was places like that around here. Was that around here?
It wasn't around Shelbyville, but my cousin, which was real big into it, like the Renaissance fairs and all that, found a group, and he would always train, and I got interested in doing it, and I just started getting on there, and we actually had one event in Shelbyville, and it was at Southwestern High School.
Huh. I didn't know that there was really anything like that around here, but that's really interesting to me. I think that was something, I don't know if I would get really into it, especially with, everything going on in my life, but I would try it. I don't know if I could do it now, full contact. I'd fucking die, but...
Oh, it is full contact.
I take kendo stick shots here and I cry for a month, so...
Kendo sticks really have nothing on these. These are full, probably 4.5-inch diameter bamboo, not hollow. I've seen them break bones.
No, I'm out. All right. Well, speaking of that, you're talking about training for that. Who were you trained by upon your arrival here in XCW? Who really got you to that next level of being able to understand what you're doing in the ring?
At first, it was Brandon. And then after getting the beginning training with him, it was probably the veterans of the groups. Like
Hazard.
You, Hazard.
Hazard was very hands-on with training for a lot of years, so.
And even Genocide.
So throughout the years, you've had the opportunity to be part of some tag teams and some groups, alongside with DJ and like Evil, and you were in the Ward with Floyd, and you've dabbled in some different teams and stuff during your time in XCW. Is there a certain team or stable or both that you really enjoyed watching or being a part of in XCW?
Probably the second run of the Ward.
Okay, yeah.
Because things got more serious with me and Boyd. Boyd was not on his first season. He was more ring aware, and
I think it was a pretty good launching pad for you, like where I gave you the edge of kind of wanting a team. Like you guys were a babyface team, kinda, but you were like almost like a slave driver in a sense. Like you would light the table on fire and scream at him about winning the championship and stuff. So it was a completely different element than the first run of the Ward, where there was also a lot of other tag teams in your first run as the Ward as well, where you were competing against the Revolution, which was James Yerke and Carnage, and the Dark Carnival was around, Tortured Souls, and so there was a lot to go around during that time. So this one's a little deeper. It's a little bit deeper of a cut, and it doesn't have to be current crop of guys either. Is there anyone within XCW over the years that you just personally did not like?
I think I can't remember his name, but Crisis.
Crisis, yeah. Tim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it all stemmed apart of it was a night match.
Okay.
And me being, I was more of the face crazy at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I brought the lightsaber out. And I told him I was going to give him an eye poke when we were talking before, and just to get ready for it. And I went to walk up to do it, and I was probably, say, 5 feet from him, and I went like this, not even getting ready for it. And he covered his face like I hit him. Like, there's a point of overselling that makes it look horrible.
Right.
Like, you have to actually make it look like I just jammed my fingers in your eyeball.
Yeah. I think Crisis, he was a hard guy to understand, I think. And we don't talk about Crisis a lot anymore, but I feel like while he was here, he was a huge part of XCW, but once he was gone, he was gone. Like, he's just never really talked about anymore. But I think the thing that stands out most to me was him being a part of the Untouchables, and him and Vapor were at the top of the ladder that time. They did the flaming table spot, and he took the bump off the top of the ladder through the flaming table.
Don't get me wrong, he had good matches, and when he did do good, he was great. But me and him just didn't have.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, there's been some guys. I run the company, and there's some guys that throughout the years that I just personally don't care for, or even to this day, there's some guys that I just don't care for. And so it comes with the territory. We don't have to get along with everybody. We just got to put on a good show. Now, XCW prides itself, of course, on creating content, not just content of like this, and creating compelling wrestling matches, but we're big on storytelling here in XCW. Is there a specific storyline that you've seen in XCW that stood out to you as probably your favorite?
I know I've repeated their names multiple times, but probably
fine.
The cash-in between Brogan and Brady, and Brady's work to getting back to being champion.
Yeah, I love that story. Yeah, and I think that's really what set the 2020 season apart from a lot of seasons, is just how all those things fell into place. Now, on the flip side of that, they had a killer rivalry, but there's been a lot of good rivalries. Myself and Chris Jones, Cynical Chris Jones, Brandon Hobbs and Corey Lee. There's so many rivalries throughout 20 years in XCW. What's your favorite rivalry you think you've witnessed in XCW?
My favorite one? Probably... It'd be closer to the season I started, but between Corey Lee and Hazard.
Absolutely. The love triangle. Yeah. I think a lot of people, myself included, say 2012 and 2020 are probably two of the best seasons XCW's ever had. And throughout the whole summer, those guys had the storyline with Karen involved, and it was awesome. Such a good time in XCW. Now, you've had the opportunity, you've wrestled in different places. You wrestled at Gabe's house. You wrestled at Mildred Street. You've got to go to Cemetery. You got to go to our current location. What stands out to you as your favorite location you've competed at?
Probably Mildred's without the ring, and our current location with the ring.
I agree. I think the intimate setting of the smaller... I wish it was a little bit bigger, but I think the smaller it is, the more intimate it feels, the better that you get out of it. I think there was almost too much space at Cemetery Center, and you didn't really get the same feeling you do when you're in smaller places like those two. So I absolutely agree. Some people disagree with that. They like more open space, but I feel like the sound comes in more, like you get more out of it in a more intimate setting.
And I feel with we're closer in space, wrestlers have a chance to stay in more compact instead of branching out and having dead time.
Right, I agree. Absolutely, I agree. Now, the company we've talked about, this is the 20th season, 2022 coming up here. That's a big milestone. Our 19th year, our 20th season. What kind of legacy do you think XCW, the company, is going to leave behind when it's all said and done? Hell, at this point, it may never be all said and done. But what kind of legacy is XCW going to leave?
Just a group of people that love a certain sport and are willing to put their bodies, their mental, physical, all that on line to entertain. Like, we don't get paid for this. It's all voluntary.
Yeah.
And the people that do this tend to put 100% in. I'm not saying all.
Right.
But.
Well, what about Jessie Justice? What kind of legacy is Jessie Justice going to leave behind XCW?
The craziest person in XCW.
Okay. What about for you personally? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Someone who is willing to work with anybody and that is willing to put their opponent up to push them up instead of worrying all about themselves.
How has XCW impacted your personal life? I know you've been here for quite a few years, and you've been in and out, but, I mean, here you are, XCW champion. How has it impacted your life since starting this crazy journey with us?
I know I can take a metal chair to the head.
Yeah.
But I am a little less camera shy. I am not worried about what other people see. I just want to make sure that I do right by the company and put out the stuff that people want to see.
What do you think is the best thing that's come out of XCW for you personally?
It's brought me more out to people. I'm more willing to break that bubble of being enclosed usually.
A little more social.
Yeah.
So obviously you're an XCW Hall of Famer, you're an XCW champion, you've accomplished a lot here in XCW, but to Jessie, what is your proudest achievement today?
Probably winning the Wins the Chains match. Turning the Claymore into the Balto, then hitting the Balto on the chairs, and finally having my hand raised for the XCW championship.
So how did you come up with your name and gimmick debuting in XCW?
It was a combined thing with me and you. You were looking for somebody to play the, not per se just like crazy, but playing like more like a wild card, not knowing what to do.
Right.
And
where you could be placed in pretty much anything and it's going to make sense.
And a lot of people don't know I'm a huge nerd, and Lord of the Rings was a big actually part of my character. The Gollum and Smeagol, how he talks to himself.
Yep.
That I always liked that. Then when we finally came up with Frantic Like Crazy, you told me to go with it, and I just proceeded to do what I could, and it's got me here.
This is the big question that I think everybody across the board has the exact same answer for. What do you say to those people who say that wrestling's fake?
Let me hit you with a chair.
Exactly. Yeah, how are you trained to get hit with a chair? I mean,
let me push you off a ladder that's 10 feet. Be tossed over someone's shoulder into a physical window frame of glass.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, don't knock it till you try it. You get in here one day of throwing yourself around in that ring, and you tell me if you can walk good or sleep comfortably, or it's not easy.
Being involved in it so long, takes me a couple of days after a rough show to finally start feeling myself. My back will be sore, my legs will hurt.
Yep.
wake up feeling like I'm 60.
Yep, me too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Frantic Jessie Justice here on Freetime Interview. Until next time, thank you for joining us here on Freetime Interview. I am Fletch. We will see you next time.